When you're starting a new track or searching for new sounds, samples and loops are a great way to find inspiration. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways to do more with your samples with the powerful Waves CR8 Creative Sampler. Designed with a hyper-fast and flexible workflow, you can take literally any sample, and turn it into an inspiring instrument. Powerful time and pitch stretching algorithms, easy drag and drop keyboard and sequence modulators, keyboard zones editor, the production capabilities are endless. In addition, CR8 includes Cosmos AI-powered sample finder, over 4 gigs of royalty-free samples, and over 800 factory presets. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with all that, and I'll also show you 5 ways to get more out of your samples with CR8. Let's go ahead and dig right in. Here's how you can turn any loop into a playable instrument. Check out this flute sample here. I'm going to drag it right into CR8 so we can then trigger it on our keyboard. Or adjust the pitch, and the speed or original tempo will stay intact. We can even turn this loop into its own instrument. Just move the start and end points, crop it out, and here's where it gets interesting. One of CR8's unique features, the suggest root option. So you click on that, and it automatically sets the root key of your sample, and in 2 seconds, you have an in-tune instrument laid out across your keyboard. From there, we can shape it out, filter it, use any of the independent modulators or ADSR envelopes. You can assign them to any parameter if you want to. And once you build it, you can save it and add it to the list of presets where you can grab it later. Let's start this next example opening Cosmos. This is Waves' AI-powered sample finder. It tags and organizes all your samples and puts your entire sound library right here in one place. So let's go ahead and search for an 808 sub one-shot in the key of C, which is the key of the track. And we can go through the list of all these specific 808s in our entire library, and you don't have to stop the music. I really like this sample here, but I feel like it's a little too short, so let me show you a little trick for adding sustain to an 808 one-shot. First, you want to turn on the loop, and then you want to grab this little loop icon, drag over the loop start point, and then we're going to bring over the loop end point so that when we hold the note down, it loops this section right here. The last thing you want to do is bring up the crossfader, and we'll use it to smooth out the transition within the loop. Check it out. And that's just a great way to get more sustain out of a short 808 one-shot. The other thing you want to do to make this 808 more playable is turn on the soft mono button. And you also want to make sure the legato is on. And this is going to force CR8 not to play more than a single note at a time. We can also turn the glide on, give it that movement, that slide effect. And you've got this glide time underneath where you can adjust how long it takes to glide to the next note. So that's the sub layer. Now let's thicken it up, make this a little more interesting, a little more grimy with a synth layer. I'm going to search Cosmos now, specifically for a synth one-shot. So let's audition a few real quick. Let's go with this one, but I'm going to tune it up an octave so it blends better with the sub. Let's spread it out now with the unison. Thickens it up right there. Let's go down to the filter. We'll add a little resonance. A little drive. All right, let's hear both layers now together. And that's just 2 layers. And you can see how fast we made a more interesting 808 out of just a couple one-shots. Let's get a little more complex now on the next example with some additional layers. With CR8, you get up to 8 layers. And using 3 completely random samples, a pluck one-shot, a vocal phrase, and a hand drum, we can create something complex and super unique, but it's not hard at all and it's pretty fast. Check it out. Starting off with this pluck one-shot, first thing we'll do is click on the suggest root to put it in tune, and then we'll switch the algorithm to melodic. Another unique feature you have here, the freeze. When you turn on this hand icon, the speed becomes the offset, and we can freeze the playback head and turn any point of the sample into a playable synth. And so from here, we can add another unique option with CR8, the modulators. You've got the keyboard modulators and the LFO and sequence modulators. We can take, for example, the MW or mod wheel, drag it over to the filter cutoff, and that will assign your keyboard's mod wheel to the filter. Or we can take one of the 4 other modulators. Let's go with the sequence mod, drag it over to the offset, dial it up, and we can add a rhythmic pattern or arpeggio. Now you've got all these options here on the left to choose from, and you can make any adjustment you want in real time. On the next layer, we have that vocal phrase. Again, we'll hit the root suggest, keeping these layers in tune with each other. Let's drag over the start point. We'll change the algorithm to voice, since we're working with a vocal. And another unique feature of CR8, the flatten feature, which forces your sample to an exact pitch. And it's meant for more melodic phrases or longer samples, but I like the sort of robotic character it can add on other sounds. From here, we can adjust the speed. And this is another great way to add sustain to any one shot. On the third layer, we have a hand percussion sample. And we can even exaggerate the tone on this and turn it into a synth. So same thing, we'll bring the algorithm to melodic, we'll flatten it, bring the speed down. Let's draw a fade in. Like that. Let's bring up the tune this time. Take the pitch up an octave. And we just turn the hand percussion sample into a synth. And then we can make it more interesting. Let's take an LFO modulator, drag it over to the pan control like this. And now we've got that side-to-side movement. And we can add another modulator to the cutoff, dial it up, creating a little pulse. And then on the rate, we can add the MW from the keyboard modulators. And we can play with the speed of it like that. For quick access to each sound at a glance, you can always access the mixer tab to adjust each sound altogether. You can get as complex as you want with this. You can copy layers right from within CR8 just by clicking and dragging. It's all up to you how far you want to go. Now let's check out the flexibility of CR8's beats mode on some drums. From here, we can turn on the sync for this loop. We can raise and lower the pitch. Or trigger it anywhere on the keyboard. And it will stay in time with your DAW host tempo. You get a ton of control and flexibility over tempo, time stretching, and pitch shifting. In the previous example, I showed you the speed control working with synths and vocal one-shots. Let's check out a couple more options with these drums. You've also got the halftime, and double time controls. Great for when you want to switch up the whole vibe of the track and keep everything in time. Now, another trick we can do is, of course, chop out individual elements. Then we can designate them in these keyboard zones. Check it out. On this side of the keyboard, I've got the drum loop. And over here, I have the individual sounds laid out on these pads. The keyboard zones allow you to lay out any sample any way you want across your keyboard or MIDI controller just by using the range and velocity controls here. And then you can further edit any range or velocity by clicking and dragging, just like that. You also have a few more controls with the speed. You've got the reverse, Also the seesaw option here, which is great on things like snares or hi-hats. Now for drums, you don't want to sleep on this freeze control either, because you can even turn a drum into a synth. Just click on the hand icon, adjust the start point, with CR8, you get so much flexibility. You can take any sound, anywhere your imagination and musical ideas want to go. Now let me show you an amazing way to do vocal chops with this. I've got this vocal riff here. Let's change the algorithm to voice, turn on the sync. Now let's duplicate this onto 4 separate layers. And then with the keyboard zones, we'll split and spread out each sample across the keyboard so that each sample gets its own octave. You also have the root key here, so I'm just going to type in each octave on the keyboard. The first sample starting at C3. The next I want to start at C4, the third at C5, and the fourth at C6. Now heading back to the sample tab, the first one I'm going to leave as is, so let's record that in. All right, let's take this second one, and with the loop option, sync that to host. We'll set the loop length to a 16th, and then move the loop selector to our desired spot in the sample. And we get that stutter effect. So let's add that to the sequence. Let's keep moving with this. On the third tab, let's create a glitch style effect. Let's turn on the freeze. We get the offset control. So then we can take one of the preset LFO modulation patterns here on the left, dial up the modulation, and then we get a nice sliding glitchy style effect. So let's add that to the sequence now. All right, cool. So on this fourth tab, another thing we can do is, like I showed you earlier, we'll use the sample to generate chords. So we'll turn down the speed to extend the length of this vocal one shot. And now we can play nice long notes with it. And then to give it just a little breathe-in feeling, let's adjust the ADSR. All right, and now we get this. Again, how intricate and complex you want to get with this, whatever ideas pop in your head, CR8's got you. It's all up to you and your creativity. In terms of possibilities with sound design, repitching, repurposing, time-stretching loops, one-shots, or any sound, nothing gives you the manipulation possibilities or creative flex like CR8. Next-level sampling capability for your production workflow. On top of that, when you combine it with the Cosmos Sample Finder, there's no limits to what you can do. So if you haven't checked out Cosmos yet, I'll also leave a link for you in the description. You're definitely going to get more out of your loops, one-shots, or any sound really. And of course, to learn even more about CR8, try it for yourself right now. Make sure you visit waves.com/CR8.